And the most powerless people in the world are going to be girls. That's just a fact. So the other way is that they have sort of certain powers that I as a novelist can give to them. So they both have empathy malady, which means that they can see deeply into the suffering of others, with the mother to the point where she is almost completely debilitated by this ability, this illness. And her daughter Pearl also inherits the empathy for objects. So she's able to see the history in objects and where objects come from and what they might feel. So there's one scene, for example, where she's wearing a string of pearls, and she knows that the pearls are lamenting the sea, that the pearls want to go back to the sea. But this also allowed me to let the guns speak. So the guns can speak about their history, and the guns can speak about their crime. And it allowed me to do something interesting with the guns. And so those victims of those gun crimes also speak in a way, who are also completely powerless. And then in a true story based on lies, in Prayers for the Stolen, the previous novel, the girl, for example, there's a moment when she's being sexually harassed by a taxi driver. She's trying to get her friend who has a gunshot wound to a hospital, and this man is bothering her so much that she literally lifts up her skirt and urinates in the back seat of the taxi. So these are all kinds of ways where there's this exploration that I have of exercising what the powerless do and how they behave. Now, in terms of what we can do in human rights, I mean, that for me is a more specific thing. So as president of PEN, and because I'm the first woman president in 100 years, I really felt that I needed to put women in the center of the organization. So we changed the charter, because originally the charter had said that we will do everything to, as PEN members, to combat hatreds of class, race, and nationality. And now it's been changed to all hatreds. So that includes gender, sexual orientation, sexual identity, and we included the word equality in the document. Then after that, we passed the Women's Manifesto, which has actually transcended PEN and has become part of the governance documents at UN Women and other places. And this is a document that the core of it is that you cannot use culture, religion, and tradition to harm women and girls, which is what happens everywhere. Being just in India, the government statistics are there are 63 million women missing in India. That's a genocide. It's also a crime against humanity. And there's 21 million women and girls living in homes where they're not wanted. So for me, a lot of doing the Women's Manifesto was really a work of sorrow, because I feel such sadness, such deep sadness at the loss of these lives, which means their stories, which means the witnessing that we are missing from them.
In our previous on-stage conversation, you mentioned an interesting fact. You met in your work, and that is that it's very difficult to find female authors for the exile programs. Could you tell us about that? Because that is something that we don't, because in Finland 50% of authors are women, so in a way being an author is a very normal thing for a woman, but it's not like that everywhere.
Well, but even, I don't know, I can't speak for Finland, but Vida, who does these special counts in the United States and in England, where women of privilege are publishing, has found that actually there isn't parity. So for example, Kamala Shamsi, the Pakistani English writer, did the count with prizes. So for example, most women, something like 98% of women who have won prizes for their novels have been about men. So it's still, we're consciously and unconsciously, the male story is more valuable and is what we're giving prizes to. But back to this thing about giving writers shelter. So at Penn, we work very closely with ICORN, which is the International City of Refuge, which is based in Norway, and we have, I don't know, something like 63 cities in the world that receive writers who are at risk or in danger, who need to go into exile. And Penn is the organization that studies the cases. We study about 100 a year to decide which writers will be given spots. You know, Syrian writers, Bangladeshi bloggers, Turkish writers, etc., etc. So what is very clear is that there are very few women writers that are applying for exile. And that comes down to, if you have a file where you have to decide, is this person a writer or not, how do you know if you're a writer? Well, you have to have publications, you have to have reviews, you have to have prizes, and those are the things that define you, even in something as basic as a file that might or might not get you a place in an exiled city. So many women just simply don't have these things as writers. They're still writing in little copybooks and finding it very hard to publish, or they're published but they can't get reviews, or they can't win prizes. So in many parts of the world, it's very hard.